Hey there, students. Thank you for being part of this presentation. My name is Luis Silva, and today we're looking at world history, U.S. imperialism in Asia and Latin America. What will we learn today? Today we're going to analyze the role the United States played as an imperial power in Asia as well as Latin America. Let's move on. Quick discussion question. Based on this image, what important changes took place in the United States from 1783 all the way to the year 1900? If you need to pause this video, please do so that you can read what happened to the United States throughout the different years. For example, 1783, you have the United States basically as a baby. By the time you get to 1899, you see how the United States has completely changed. And now it's basically a superpower. You're more than welcome again to pause this video so that you can analyze this political cartoon. 115 years after gaining independence from Britain, the United States was an industrial and imperial power. As you can see here, the original 13 colonies on the map to the right, and then in 1783, the United States was able to double its size after signing the treaty with Great Britain. This is how the United States started to expand from the Atlantic Ocean heading towards the Pacific Ocean. And here we have more territories that were gained by the United States within 115 years after gaining independence. For example, in 1867, the U.S. acquired Alaska, and the same year the U.S. acquired Midway. You also see that in 1898, Hawaii was acquired. Also in 1898, Wake Island was acquired. Also in 1898, Guam was acquired, as well as the Philippines and other territories. Let's move on. But how did this happen? From the year 1790 to 1820, most Americans were small-scale farmers. But a few early textile mills were built in New England, and the Eli Whitney's cotton gin led to a boom in southern cotton and also slavery. The American population expanded across the Appalachian Mountains from the year 1790 all the way to the year 1820. And in 1803, President Thomas Jefferson doubled the size of the United States again when he purchased basically the Louisiana territory from French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. As you can see from the map here, you have all the way to the right the original 13 colonies with the treaty signed with Great Britain in 1783. The U.S. basically doubled its size, and then you have the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which basically doubled the size of the United States again, and it's way closer to the Pacific Ocean. Now, from 1820 to 1860, Southern cotton made up 60% of American exports. The North had a diverse economy based on farming, textile production, and manufacturing. Western farmers were connected to northern industry by roads, canals, and railroads. As you can see from the map to your right, you see a whole bunch of lines connecting southern states with northern states. You see the railroad system in 1850, all the black lines, and then you see railroads that were built between 1850 and 1860, which basically expanded all over the United States, connecting the south to the north. All of these railroads became fundamental as the United States was industrializing. From 1820 to 1860, the United States claimed its manifest destiny and gained new western lands in Texas, Oregon, and the Southwest. As you can see here from the map, the Oregon country was or became part of the United States in 1846. Also in 1848, you have the Mexican secession, and also in 1845, the United States annexed or basically took over Texas, despite the fact that Mexico did not agree with that. And in the year 1853, the United States had the Gadsden Purchase from Mexico. By 1850, the U.S. had all lands from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. From the year 1860 to the year 1900, the United States experienced an industrial revolution. As you can see from the map here, the United States had many industries working together and were making the country a powerful nation, and the industrialization became a dominant force that took over the country. As you can see here, the United States had oil, had silver, had timber, had coal, had copper, gold, and many other industries that powered the Industrial Revolution in the United States from the year 1860 all the way to the 1900s. The United States became a world leader in railroads, oil, steel, and electricity. As America became industrialized, it experienced a rise in urbanization and immigration, which, as you may know from the history of the United States, immigration is a very delicate topic that brings emotions that are not great all the time. Now, the United States expanded beyond North America and imperialized by gaining new colonies in Latin America and the Asian part of the world. American factories needed new sources of raw materials, and it also needed markets to sell their goods. By the year 1890, there were no new lands in the West to expand into, and Americans wanted overseas colonies. But why did the United States decide to imperialize? Well, Americans felt the need to keep up with European imperialists. As you may recall from other presentations, European nations were very busy acquiring new lands all over Africa, India, and other parts of the world. As you can see from this map here, you have Belgium, you have France, you have the German Empire, you have Great Britain, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain. They were all trying to get new territories in order to, in a way, take away their raw materials and sell those colonies the finished products or finished goods. And the United States did not want to fall behind. The U.S. had a modern navy and also a belief that it could compete with other powerful nations. Like Europeans, Americans believed in social Darwinism and that they had a duty to civilize the inferior races of the world. As you can see from both of these political cartoons, to the left you have basically a Filipino boy who is being cleaned up, who is being civilized by the United States. And to the right you have Uncle Sam, which is basically doing the same thing, civilizing Latin American nations, and also Hawaii. For example, you see there Cuba, you see there Puerto Rico, and at the back basically of the classroom that Uncle Sam is teaching, you have the civilized boys and girls, which are basically reading and civilizing themselves. And these are very sad portrayals of how the United States view many nations around the world. So what did the United States gain during the age of imperialism? Americans were interested in Hawaii to convert natives to Christianity. On top of that, they wanted to profit from fruit plantations and its location as a fueling center midway to Asia. So Hawaii was a very important place in the world. And the United States wanted to have that place for the reasons we just mentioned. Mainly was for profit, and its location was like in the middle between the North American continent and the Asian part of the world. And lastly, they wanted to Christianize many of the natives in Hawaii. Americans were able to overthrow Queen Luluwakani and created a republic in 1893. And the U.S. was able to annex Hawaii as a territory in the year 1898. And this was a big part of the United States industrializing. By the 1890s, European powers gained exclusive trade rights in Chinese ports. The United States was left out of Chinese trade. In 1899, the United States negotiated an open door policy allowing all nations to trade in Chinese ports. The United States also was the savior, according to many, and helped Cuba gain its independence and went to war with Spain in 1898. After winning the Spanish-American War in 1898, the United States gained Puerto Rico, Guam, as well as the Philippines. So the United States was able to acquire many strategic territories and the places where it could sell finished goods. According to the United States, it wanted to protect newly independent Latin American republics from imperialism by European powers. By the year 1904, the U.S. was a world power and declared itself the police power of the Western Hemisphere. As you can see here from the political cartoon here, you have the new diplomacy in Latin America. To the right of the political cartoons, you have Europeans demanding many things from Latin American nations. And like the referee there is basically the United States here. The United States also wanted to build a canal through Central America, but could not negotiate a treaty with the government of Colombia. Since it could not negotiate a treaty with the government of Colombia, it decided to create a war between Panama and Colombia. The United States was able to encourage Panama to revolt from Colombia and allow America to build the Panama Canal. And here you have basically information on how the United States was able to build the Panama Canal after Panama gained its independence from Colombia. And some facts about the canal is that the canal took 10 years to build, from 1904 all the way to 1914, and it costed $380 million. During the construction of the canal, workers dug up more than 200 million cubic yards of earth. Thousands of workers died from diseases while building the canal. The trip from San Francisco to New York via the Panama Canal is about 9,000 miles shorter than the trip around South America. The 51-mile trip through the canal takes about 8 to 10 hours. The canal now handles more than 13,000 ships a year from around 70 nations, carrying about 192 million short tons of cargo. And finally, the Panama Canal was given back to the Panamanians on December 31, 1999. If you see here, obviously how this canal works, I will place the link so you can see the video and the description of this video, so you'll have more information to go by. And it's really fascinating how this canal actually works. By the 20th century, the United States was a world leader in industry and had one of the world's most powerful militaries. Very important for you to know that, because this military helped the United States become even more powerful. The U.S. gained Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, creating an open door policy in Chinese ports, and had influence over Latin America. Now we have come to the end of this presentation. Please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next presentation.